In this build guide, we will look at a power mechanist build for open world content that you can use to solo pretty much anything in the game. It offers very high sustain and damage, and you can keep up a very high uptime of 25 stacks of might, fury and quickness. And at the end of the video, I will show you how can you get that up to 100% of the time. We are using a full set of celestial armor with pack runes, and then a berserker rifle with sigil of strength and generosity, and our trinkets are also a full set of celestial. And I am currently using a tier 10 Jade bot core that will increase my vitality by 235, but you don't have to use a tier 10 of course, and tier 1 will just work fine. But the higher you get, the more benefits and the more vitality you get. For the food, we are using steak with winterberry sauce, and for the utility, we are using magnanimous sharpening stone. I have a lot of guides that shows you how to gear up any character from scratch. I will leave the playlist for them in the description below. For the traits, we are using explosive 2, 1, 3, and then alchemy 2, 2, 3, and mechanist 2, 3, 1. For the utility skills, we are using the signet for the heal and the signet as an elite, and then for the other utilities we are using shift signet with barrier signet and elixir U. Now let's understand how this build works. For sustain, your mech will take the aggro most of the time, so that will already prevent a lot of damage coming to you. And then from the alchemy trait line, we have the grandmaster trait iron blooded will reduce the damage and condition damage we take by 2% for every boon we have. And as you will notice, you will have a bunch of boons throughout the fight. And then we will have a lot of passive heals from compounding chemicals, which will heal us every time we apply a boon. We have short fuse that will give us fury every time we hit with an explosion, which we basically do permanently with our auto attack. And our mech is constantly generating might for us, and every time we are going to use our F1, F2 or F3 mech skills, we gain quickness. Our rifle too will apply might, and because of sigil of strength, we will also apply a lot of might from our critical hits. All of those combined will give you a lot of boons, and it will help you generate a lot of passive health with compounding chemicals. And then the big boomer grandmaster trait from the explosive line is not only going to increase our damage, it will also heal us whenever we use a skill that will apply explosion. And as I mentioned earlier, your auto attack from your rifle will apply explosion. And then your healing signet will apply a lot of passive heals the entire time, so all three combined will give you a lot of passive heals throughout the entire fight. Now that we understand how the build works, let me show you how you should use it. The very first thing you want to do is make the F1, F2 and F3 mix skills go on auto attack. You can do that by doing control and then right click. When you do that, you will see an arrow going around the skill. When it has this icon, just like your skill number 1, then it is set on auto attack and your mech will use it anytime it is available. This is of course not better than you using it at certain times and certain situations that you want, but it's a little bit of an easier setup, especially if you are a beginner or if you want to free up some of the hotkeys for other skills. Once you enter combat, you want to use your elixir U and your barrier signet. This will give you some quickness, and you will get even more quickness from your F skills, and the barrier will help a lot with the sustain along with the passive heals you will generate through the fight. And then we will constantly use our rifle 2 and rifle 3 whenever they are of cooldown, which will do a lot of damage, and rifle 2 will give us a lot of might, which will synergize very well with sigil of strength, and you will have 25 stacks of might pretty much the entire time. Skill 4 is very good for CCs, and you should use it anytime you want to interrupt enemies or you want to try and break bar. And skill 5 will do high damage, but it will also teleport you, so you want to be careful when and where to use it. When I tested this build, I rarely used skill number 5 on purpose to avoid teleporting, and it worked just fine, and I did a lot of damage with the other skills. You should leave shift signet on passive most of the time, and you should not worry too much about conditions because of the sigil of generosity. However, if you are desperate and you are starting to get very low on health and you need to cleanse some conditions, you can use it. But keep in mind that when it is on passive, it will share boons with your mech, which will enable it to do much more damage. Same goes for the healing signet. You should try to leave it on passive, but of course you can use it for emergencies when you are getting low. As for the elite skill, you can use it for some burst damage. However, if you found yourself having some hard fights or you are fighting a specifically hard boss and your mech keeps dying, then you should save this signet instead. Because if your mech died, you can use this signet and it will recall it back to life. The build will work just fine without any extra buffs. However, I will show you a couple of buffs we can add now that will make the build much much stronger. The first one will be the Anvil Hammer, which you can find in a lot of places. When you interact with it, it will give you this buff that will increase your health and your armor. You can also get the buffs from the defensive and offensive protocols, which will give you those two buffs on your bar. It will increase your power and condition damage and toughness and vitality, and this will also provide every boon in the game during combat for a very decent uptime, and you can easily keep up 25 stacks of might, fury and quickness the entire fight. If you want to check my other build guides for open world or group content or Wild's World, I will leave playlists for them in the description below. I will now leave you with some footage for this build in action. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next guide.